Lovely.
Hello. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vivek Pariyar, Head of Engineering at Purple, and I'm a moderator. So today's topic is unlocking the cognitive edge, building intelligent infrastructure through through cloud and AI, right? For the last decade, I think we have been discussing the infrastructure should solve and we have been talking about the uptime, the cost, the scale, right? For this era, I think the discussion has been changed and the thought has been changed from the uptime to scale to the cost. And the infrastructure is supposed to do something very different, right? It has to adapt in real time, support our AI workloads, right? And make autonomous decisions and keeping our cost same or the low, right? And we cannot spend a good amount of money in that, right? So in short, infrastructure is moving from reactive systems to a cognitive system. For that, we have a very a beautiful panel here, right? And who are building and these systems at scale at an enterprise level, right? Let me quickly introduce these folks, right? So do welcome Jakpreet Pabla, the CTO of McDonald's India. We have Abhishek Sukwal, the head cloud infrastructure from Mahindra & Mahindra. Puneet Asthana, CTO of Sriram Wealth. Naveen Singhania from CIO Nuvaco Group Corp. And Vikas Srivastava, head of engineering and from Mahindra Holidays, right? Thank you all for joining. Thanks a lot. So, quickly, let's move to the first question, and I think this is for the Puneet, right? What does the intelligent infrastructure actually mean in a practical enterprise context?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I come from a BFSI, so let me take the example today. Infrastructure in the past was largely a back-end discussion. How do we put a workload? How do we operate? That was where we are. Today, even the last mile customer is looking at capacity. If I talk in terms of BFSI, banking, broking, a last mile customer is talking of capacity. On top of it, regulator is talking of capacity. There is a lot of measures which are being imposed by regulator today to keep check on the kind of infrastructure you have and the kind of responses you give in terms of running your BAUs. So talking of intelligent infrastructure, it does comprise of the base infrastructure, but then what can overlay today are the smart things which have happened is that how you can position, how can you have distributed deployments, how you can actually use edge computing to achieve that kind of millisecond and microsecond transactions the way which is demanded today. Another thing of the last bit, I believe we were discussing it about AI, the way AI can add value. Again, with AI, it's important to secure your workloads, the LLM, the way they sit, how your data is being, executed out of LLM, inside out from your landing zone to the LLM. All this demands an intelligence layer in your infrastructure, the way that's part of the intelligence which is required. And the last bit, to define the intelligent infrastructure is, I think I heard somebody said about how your operations run. Today, resilience in operations basically is not coming by just measuring your numbers, measuring your CPU, memory, RAM, but it's more to it. So that's where AI has stepped in. So demand from the infrastructure today is that it should capture every incident, every event, respond, react accordingly, the way it is required. And this is directly coming by the nature of business, the nature of application it is deployed. So the systems is getting self-resilient, self-healing, so that gone are the days where our databases can crash. Today I can have a database, a read-only databases as well. So the kind of intelligence, the kind of distributed deployments we are bound to create, that's adding intelligence. And on top of it, the kind of SIM controls implemented today, which involves maybe, for an example, let me take again an example from BFSI. There is Gone are the days where we can actually do a commit in a database. Everything is in memory. Now this in-memory or hyper-converged infrastructure today, which is to be used, which is auto self-healing, which gives you active passive, that intelligence, and that actually sends a lot of alerts. This intelligence is helpful. And end of the day, running operations with those matrices which can respond just in time is expected. So that's what is the term intelligence into infrastructure.
Thanks for the point, and I think you put it in a very right manner, right? So the intelligent systems or infrastructure is just not about the capacity. It's more towards how you can definitely make a system self-healing, right? The more observable in terms of that, right? And thanks a lot. It's a great view. I think let's quickly move to the Vikas. Because when organizations talk about modernization, right, it often become a massive, unclear initiative, right? Where should companies actually start when modernizing core infrastructure for cloud and AI initiatives?
So, thank you for having me here. So let me begin with a question that how many of you feel that your infra is cloud ready or AI ready? Okay.
I think somewhat we are.
Yeah.
We are spending money.
That's what we believe. Now, next question is that if a business comes to you with a use case which they want to implement, will you your infra will be the blocker, or it will take the use case immediately and go for implementation? You tend to think, right? So the point is that the AI is not the competitive edge. Competitive edge is given by your infra readiness. If your cloud, your infra is ready for AI deployment, implementation, that will give you the business an advantage. Now it begins from the business strategy, the mindset within the organization, and then followed by data architecture, integration architecture. You have all these readiness in place. Whenever business think of use case, they don't bother about whether your cloud is ready or not. They just bring the business case. Again, the advantage is that when business have the modernization strategy, they look at that what all different business capability they can build or new capability they can add on. Right? So every expenditure which is going to happen in cloud or infrastructure, it is always evaluated by what capability we are adding. So as long as our infra is able to address those new initiatives which business is bringing in, we are ready. Okay. Now, cloud readiness or the AI readiness is more of a foundation. And as long as your foundation is ready, you are cloud ready for the modernization. Now, modernization is misinterpreted by different people differently. If you ask from any enterprise organization that what are you doing on the modernization, so people may say that I'm moving to the cloud, I'm bringing mobility, I'm implementing DevOps. That's not the modernization. Modernization is always come from the organization has the business strategy for the modernization, and then what business capability I'm going to add as part of the modernization. So in order to address the business needs, as long as your DevSecOps is ready, your cloud is ready, you are able to maintain and monitor, you are able to address the business need. I think at the end, your readiness is depends on how good your foundation is. I think that's what
I think a very well put. Like the foundation is most important thing. It is not going to change, right? Where you are and where you want to go, right? If you have a right foundation, you can definitely build anything on top of it, right? Thanks, Vikas. Let me quickly move to the Abhishek. Abhishek, from a large enterprise perspective, right? What infrastructure decisions made today will have the biggest impact on scalability over the next few years?
I Vivek, very good question. I think nowadays what has happened is the AI has now gone into general purpose technology, and every product and everything is coming, and a lot of AI in every workspace. So going forward, if we are talking about the how the world will move into is, we will have a very hybrid approach for AI, because AI will have different, not only LLMs, generative AI, but you have a computer vision AI, you will have AI models for predictive, you will have for forecasting demand, and like we are working in Mahindra, and a lot of such ways like how do you calculate the best production plan, because Bolero and Scorpio have more of the components which are common. Now, how do you create your production plan based on the AI find out? For Mahindra Logistics, we can find out what is the transport mechanism which can have the maximum utilization and faster this. So in that reference, the first thing which I'll tell is you will have to go hybrid. Now when you are going into hybrid, something will remain on edge, something you will have to take on cloud. Now while taking on the cloud, we have to decide on cloud is not a data center. So if you go as it is a lift and shift, you will not add any value there. If you want to use cloud, you have to use the cloud with the way cloud native applications as we made. While you make native or not, you make Kubernetes native, or you make your managed Kubernetes or what, or you go on a serverless. So this is one thing which the way you manage your hybrid will be the future. How will you manage it further? Second is you have to modernize your apps. You have to move them on more on a scalable architecture. You may move on Kubernetes, then serverless or some other PaaS, and even SaaS, right? SaaS gives you because I never compete with Sam Altman, because I don't have a $10 billion to make my own LLM. So what I do is normally I use their LLMs as a token and API to build my products on top of it so that I can work with and leverage it out. Sometimes it happens that I'm a hardcore technical developer, cloud engineer from by heart, you sometimes get deviated to make my own LLM, right? I tried also. I tried for Falcon and other MLOps, and there was a question. I tried that. But then I found that with general purpose technology and general intelligence coming into picture, I will never be able to compete with Sam Altman. So then I realized that I have to change my approach. So that readiness is the resiliency on these APIs, the resiliency on like how do you use the models like Anthropic or Gemini or ChatGPT from Azure, so and make them secure. The second point which comes is how fast you can use AI ops you can bring into picture, DevOps you can bring into picture. So this is the operational efficiency around it, which will actually give a leverage in another 5-6 years if the companies who are moving towards that, your deployment is moving on DevOps, and somewhere legacy you will still be not able to get out of it. Like we have our ERP as SAP. SAP is a big database, HANA database. It's a monolith application basically. So how you build an API driven architecture on top of it, where you can scale. So these are the things where the world is moving towards, where cloud will play a very big role, but now I think that edge will also play a very big role if computer vision and all those things are coming and robotics come into picture. Like my paint shop is purely robotic. So I have to be on edge. So now edge processor, high density with liquid cooling, those hardened hardwares which can run on those environments is also going forward, which is required for a manufacturing company like us. So we have to think through on both the scales actually. Maybe GPU also required somewhere, but mostly on training side, inferencing side, CPU can also work. So those is there, but the competency has to be built on both the sides.
Thanks, Abhishek. I think you made a very well point. Instead of reinventing the wheel, right, and you definitely want to build a use case around your business, right, and use those tools as your yet another tool and build all these use case, right. And thanks, yeah. So let's move to Jagpreet. Jagpreet, in consumer-facing environments, resilience is everything, right? So what role does cloud play in improving resilience and business continuity?
I think, so I'll start with the story. A few years ago, we did a collaboration with a Korean pop band, and all the teenagers in the area that we operate in, West and South India, went crazy. We had so much traffic on our app and website that we had nowhere to run to. We were on a quasi cloud at that time, not a proper cloud, and we asked for extra capacity, and we were told like it will take about a month to get that extra capacity. It was a huge campaign, but we did get a lot of sales, more than expected, but we would have gotten a lot more sales had we've been able to scale up our applications. This is what cloud brings in. So if we start with any simple application and we move it to cloud directly, like Abhishek said, it will not yield benefits. Where cloud yields benefits is if you build for the cloud in leveraging the technologies such as serverless, message queues, and auto scaling that cloud provides. Secondly, if we talk about resilience, it makes it so easy to actually have a DR environment, for example. If I have a data center in Mumbai and I want backup, I can have one in Singapore or Hyderabad or wherever, right? In the age of data centers, that would have been a very difficult proposition. So it makes it, and today we are all going serverless. I don't even care if I have a server, where that server is, if that server is, I don't know, shared with 50,000 people. So it is making, in the eyes of the application developer, not for everybody, not for probably most of the people in this room, but in the eyes of the application developer, it is making the infrastructure in a way redundant. It's an API which I call it. I don't care where it is running or how it is running. So that is the kind of resilience in three aspects that clouds brings to our lives. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Let's move to Naveen. Naveen, many enterprises struggle with cloud transitions. And what are the most common mistakes organizations make when moving from traditional infrastructure to cloud-based platform?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I think some have already been mentioned here by the panel. Like, it is not a lift and shift model. You just can't say, I have my on-prem and I'll move to cloud, just lift and shift it there. That is one mistake which people generally do. That I will not elaborate too much. Second point which I feel is your own network ready to adopt cloud? And for that you have to make sure that either if you have a proper SD-WAN environment which is secure and scalable, or you have proper ILLs created, and if you need MPLS for a network, you should have that. So I think that is one mistake which people do. They don't upgrade their network. And the third mistake which I find is that, is your security posture updated? What security which you have for your current infrastructure may not be same for the cloud infrastructure. So if you have to make sure that you have proper IAMs in place, your ZTNA, your endpoint security, your firewalls, you have to make sure that that is hardened properly and designed to handle your cloud traffic. That is the third one which I would say. And fourth mistake people do is they don't look at the cost. Cloud is just like, it's not something which you give and forget. You have to keep observing it, you have to keep measuring it. That at the end of the month, if you need more compute power, you size it accordingly. During the month, if you don't need it, you size it accordingly, so that you don't have a shock at the end of the month when the bill comes. So these 4-5 mistakes people do. But if you handle it properly, I think you will have a good experience moving towards cloud.
Thanks a lot. I think it's very interesting to see like most of these problems are not very technical, right? It's more organizational, cultural, and it's economics as well, right? And all of you just put it very well, right? So let me just quickly move to the Abhishek. Abhishek is gonna be very important. Like let's talk about the AI specifically. How is AI changing the way infrastructure is designed, managed, and optimized?
So I will, while AI is changing everybody's world now, if we are using, most of you must be using Copilots, Chat GPTs and LLM, and AI is changing the infrastructure and cloud also. Now, I will keep them in three different buckets. So one, AI itself is changing because for running AI, you require some different kind of infrastructure and those things to run AI itself. So sometimes, like what you want to have a LLM of yourself, if you want to train SLM for yourself, you will require some GPU machine, L4 machines, NVIDIA machines on the cloud, and you will want to train your model. So that has become very ubiquitous right now, and you will find most of the vendors are also coming with a private GPU cloud now, because a lot of people are working on, a lot of startups are also working on making their own models for vernacular languages, Bhashini, and a lot of declaration has been done on AI, and last week PM Modi has also talked about. So that will change the landscape. Like the most clouds are coming up with their own models, while they have to also work on the GPU and the free models, Falcon and Meta and those models where people want to fine tune for their SLMs and their narrow usages, right? While for general purpose, I still feel that you will always love to work with the tokenization and the all this cloud and all this stuff. Second comes like how AI will change your the way it is managed. So now AI ops has become, when the agentic AI come into picture, you will find that most of the tools now, I think a lot of people must have read that we have now agent to agent framework, which Google has recently introduced. Like every application and every board of product development has told that you should have your own AI. For example, Dynatrace has its own AI, Code Avis. Cisco has its own AI. ServiceNow has its own AI agent, and everybody is working on agent. Now, how do you work with AI to AI agent and will work? Like, for example, Dynatrace or Elasticsearch, something you are using for your observability, how that AI agent will work for your AI ops, where your optimization and all this MTTR, and it will do how fast you can resolve, predict, and those things can happen. Second thing which AI has brought is the person who was known to be a very specialist in the world because he has worked in Oracle for 20 years, that gap is abridged now. A 2 years Oracle champion will go on Chat GPT and can find out a lot of data, which is a lot of specialist skills which is there. So that gap will also be abridged for CIOs and for us. Like how do we can reduce our cost earlier? This is a you can help with the AI, you can help with the agent, and you can help with like MCPs and those communication between the tools. That is the second aspect where AI will help in reducing your cost to manage your cloud. Third will come, the AI will predict on the like many tools like which has come on the FinOps tool basically has now come with the agentic approach, where the FinOps itself, the AI will understand the context also. Earlier it was without context. So it was going on the trends and other things. Now it is a context also. It understands context also. And with that context, the action can be taken without human into the loop. If you talk about 2023, we were talking about co-pilots. Means pilot is still I am. Co-pilot will help you, but human will always be in the loop to decide and push the button. Final, he will trigger the button. Now coming up with these models of agent to agent and reviewing by different for hallucination, these models are now able to handle the situation themselves. So, which is coming now in your, and eventually another 1 or 2 years you will find that agents will only work, human in loop will also remove with the FinOps and that optimization efficiency which they will bring in the infrastructure. So third is this, and fourth will become your security pillar, where your zero trust, context awareness, just-in-time access. Because if I talk about cloud, if you want to make it secure, you only need two things. You make your IAM perfect, and your application which are exposed to internet vulnerability is managed, then you don't require firewall also. Google does not use firewall. They use zero trust architecture principle. They don't use firewall. VPC firewall is sufficient for that. Cloud is only insecure because of IAM, and second is your application vulnerability, which is exposed to internet, right? Which is on internet, still there is nothing required much. Now, with SIM and SOAR coming into picture, like for example, if you are using some SIM tool, maybe Palo Alto or Google or something, the SIM tools coming with the AI context awareness, they understand that this is something which is happening, this is developer is doing, because the kind of, I will say, UEBA, how user behavior analysis, that this is something developer is doing, this is something which is happening from this place, maybe even it is coming through a proxy or not from China or somebody else, but with the behavior analysis itself and the context analysis itself, the tools are able to identify that this is a problem. And then with the SOAR playbook, they will block it also, that agent. So these four things will happen when the AI will come into picture, and which is coming. And Google, Microsoft, and all these hyperscalers are coming up with their own these agents and tools in which.
Thanks. Very great context. I think what you mentioned, like in 1 or 2 years, that human in loop might also remove, right? I think it's not that going to be that long, because
one
Google,
thing also I'll tell, like people ask about what will happen, and it's very, I work in the AI and it's the troubles of human mankind. The only thing which is not trained by all this good man is whatever is stored in your muscle memory. You are a good artist, you are a good cook, and whatever is stored in your muscle memory, this is craft, that data is not available for them in training. Otherwise, they have trained everything in the world. Wherever the data is digitized, it is trained, and it will be trained. The only thing will be left will be your muscle memory, which they will eventually try to train, while Elon Musk is working on putting chips and all that stuff, which still will take some time with the regulation. But AI is coming with a big change in what we do. Another 5 years, probably you will see everything will change. And whatever we are thinking about our kids to learn, and eventually will, I don't know, whether you require to crack IIT or not, will change.
I think it's more towards like how well you are prepared with your own skills, and it's now all about your skills. Right? The tech era is already on a different level, right? And I think AI also it's just about the door, right? Artificial general intelligence. So after that, human in the loop also not required, right? Thanks a lot, Abhishek, and it's a great perspective. Let me quickly move to Jakpreet. Jakpreet, infrastructure is no longer a silo, right? And I think. And how do you think, how should infrastructure team collaborate with the application, data, and security teams?
Very interesting question. So we have 4 teams involved here. So first one, of course, is what we call DevOps, or the infrastructure team, and the application team. I think for application team, the most important thing is, and like I had mentioned some time ago, give them, make it another app for them. Give them a layer of abstraction from the infrastructure itself. So application team has to focus on the application. They do not have to focus on the infrastructure. So what we call infrastructure as a code. So we can enable our application teams to focus on building good quality applications. In terms of security, I think that is the most important collaboration here. Both security and infra teams have to work on shift left, move security left into the CI/CD pipeline into actually the domain of the application team. So training the application teams and ensuring that the proper shift left approach is implemented in CI/CD is very important. This is where they can collaborate. Secondly, with security team and the infrastructure team, they have to work on common dashboards for monitoring, for understanding what is going on in the system, because what they need to look at, they might be using different lenses, but they have to look at exactly the same stuff. So a lot of collaboration is required with the security team. Now, thirdly and finally, for the data team, there are two important aspects. One is the pipelines. So data teams and infrastructure teams have to work very closely on the pipelines. And like with serverless and all, sometimes the infrastructure is the pipeline itself. You're just using cloud services instead of actually provisioning anything for the infrastructure. So they have to work very closely on the pipelines. The data team has to give them the requirements, and infrastructure has to enable the data teams to actually enable those pipelines. And secondly, which is becoming very important even with the coming of DPDP, infrastructure team has to provide the tools for data teams to work on the data, the quality of the data, and if there's any PII or other sensitive information in the data, that data has to be scanned using the infrastructure itself. So these are sort of, for the three teams, the key points. End of the day, it's the same team. If you have a point.
Very valid point. And then data residency, like you have to forget data also. And you have to make that orchestration also that the customer says that you forgot my data. And that will be a big challenge for us, actually.
Yes. First of all, I think for DPDP, changing topics for a second, I think the biggest challenge for everybody is going to be finding data. In whose laptop, on whose computer, in which cloud, in which...
And classification of all that data.
Where I have put somebody's phone number that is now PII.
I think most of the organizations are data fiduciary, major data fiduciary. And I think you made a very well point, like the applications need to have a different infrastructure altogether where they can just work on a very different level because they need to iterate very fast. Whereas also you put a very important point, like we need to treat security as a first-class citizen because most of the digital natives and organizations take security just another task, right? Instead of that, they need to be moved to the topmost layer. Thanks a lot, Jakpreet. That's a very well point. Let's quickly move to the Naveen. Naveen, AI workloads are notorious, right, for unpredictable cost. And I think it's a touch point for everybody, right? So how do you ensure infrastructure supports AI initiative without causing budget shocks?
I think one thing we have to understand that, and I see that in all companies, each function is driving their own POCs on AI. So everybody is saying, I have signed up with this vendor, like you were saying, somebody is trying with Joule, somebody is trying with the Copilot, and everybody is rising up the cost like anything. So my thought around that would be, in each organization, it should be a COE-driven thing, where you create a COE which will drive all the AI initiatives together in one place, rather having a siloed approach everywhere else. That would actually reduce your cost. Second one would be like, AI loves data, but your cost does not. So how will you reduce the cost if you are putting everything on AI cloud? So I think you should have a 3-tier architecture where you put all your AI, LLMs and all your AI related stuff which is in a hot tier, which you call as a hot storage, because that is what AI needs for its bread and butter. And whatever is needed for AI training, you should keep it as a warm. And all your data which is archival information, historical information, you keep it as a cold storage. Don't put everything everywhere. So that will definitely reduce your cloud computing cost. Third would be what you need at that time you should configure it. Like if you have, like in cement manufacturing, we have maximum dispatches happening near the end of the month. So I will take storage and I will take compute power at that time where I need AI to tell me which route I should take, which is the route which is most optimized for me for those last 5 days. Balance 27 days is only 20% of my sale. I don't want to compute there. So there I don't want AI to help me. Mune chal jayega mera. You know? So there you should think about it. And finally would be like, there should be some observation mechanism, or there should be a team which is sitting there and observing what is happening day to day, rather than waiting for the bill to arrive at the end of the month and then think, hey, I have a huge overrun. So I think those are the key elements which we should be very careful about. Yeah. Thank you.
I think a very well point, right? So basically, instead of like going each and every function, start doing their own POC, start building their own product, right? It could be a central approach, a central governance where we can just put a very hot data which might be used, right? And from there you just use it and discard it and from move on, right? A very well point, Naveen. I think let me quickly move to the Puneet. Puneet, from a financial service perspective, right? Cross-team coordination is critical, right? How should infrastructure teams work more closely with application data and security functions?
So I think this is partially covered in the earlier point that, see today, security, earlier days, it was used to come in the last. When we do VAPTs, then we discovered what exactly is the gap. And then we go and possibly even go up to the level of architecture to sort of redesign. I believe now applications first have to look at the architecture, look at the way this workloads, any respective workload, either on-prem or cloud, has to be deployed. Do the necessary, actors, do the right information architecture around it and the application architecture around it so that the security is in set. And I think the rightly used, the whole thing has to shift left. So you go to the development team and talk of security with them. They should have a code secured by design. Then at the same time, data team should understand, or the infra team should understand what workload, what sizing, what kind of access rights one has to give. So they have to come together. And of course, security team has to drive by the guiding principle of the organizations, the kind of regulation is applied to you. So this three people should come together while the application is in design phase, when the architecture gets finalized. That's where collaboration is required, not in stages, in silos, where application or the business has given requirement, you have designed it, you have not checked with the security team that, okay, I cannot give access to that particular region or a particular way. That cannot happen. So traditionally this is happening, but I think in last few years, thankfully, the regulator has been very prompt enough to keep you in check. So this coordination has come up. The security VAPTs are taken seriously. This subject is already there in the board meetings. It has walked into the boardrooms. So even the business heads are very clear that until unless a VAPT or a security clearance is given, we cannot make anything live. So that's that. I believe it's more of a less of a technical, more of a cultural shift, which we have seen. And as I said, it is more endorsed by the government rules, by the regulations, regulators. That shift is happening. So I think this coordination is required before we really kick off even. I mean, I would say even kick off. I missed testing, by the way. I think that's one other point. Testing was also a sort of a after reaction, right? Testing is done already a major shift left. So testing starts by the time you actually do the integration level architecture discussion. That is when the majority test cases are supposed to be discovered. And if not, then major testing flaws are into integration layers. So the whole software development life cycle, so to say, is actually supposed to shift left.
Thanks, Puneet. I think you really top up what Jakpreet mentioned, right? It's just not about a one-person job to really make sure how do you secure things, right? And everybody need to come together, and the security needs to be taught as a cultural thing instead of like stopping you to not to do this, do that, right? You should understand why you're doing this. If it is not secure by design, you should not allow to really keep anything or move anything in and out from the infrastructure, right? A very well point. I think it definitely resonates with what Jakpreet said. Let's move to the quickly Vikas. Vikas, I think leadership will always ask just one question, right? Is modernization actually delivering value, right? So what metrics best indicate that infrastructure transformation is creating real business impact?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so what metrics best indicate that infrastructure transformation is creating a real business impact? So basically, all these stakeholders keep asking, like, are we
Should be driven by the COE, because same point I touched upon in my point earlier was when business comes with, so any investment which you do, any initiative you take, unless it is sold to business or unless it is bought by business, you are just doing the experimentation, right? So COE-led initiative may work for the service organization, but not for the operation or the business or the captive organization, for the enterprise. Okay, and that's where it comes to that. They are looking for what capability they want to include in their portfolio so that they get the value out of it, they earn from it. Okay, so a slight, it's not misalignment, but a difference of opinion. Okay, other point which Naveen was mentioning, Puneet, was about coordination between different functions, data, security, application, infra. I come from the enterprise architecture background. So enterprise architects and the enterprise architecture practice, wherever this practice there in organization and it is a slightly matured stage, this problem is not there because enterprise architects and the architecture functions ensure that they are connected. Design by privacy by design is embedded into the application development. Security by design is embedded into the application development. AI by design basis the business strategy is embedded into your application development and every initiative. So that problem can be solved if enterprise architecture is slightly matured in such organization. Okay. Now coming back to your question, the metrics of value. So if you think from the business point of view, that again I'll go back to the capability. So what is your business capability layout? Okay, which capability block is delivering, whether it is a customer satisfaction, your NPS score, or employee satisfaction, or quality of service. These are the top 3 KPIs I can call out. As long as you are monitoring and measuring these KPIs, your all investment or initiative you're taking as part of the modernization is measured and acknowledged and recognized by the business. So I think my boss used to say that measure what matters. So if something which matters for the business and they are looking at it, better you measure. And the 3 KPI which I mentioned, so what I mentioned is the very high level KPIs. There may be sub KPI behind that, but as long as you are able to demonstrate the value of these KPIs, you are on the right track if it is an upward trend. So that's what I can say.
Being part of the same group, can I add?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I will give an example only, right? So modernization will be a fundamental base for going for a business. So I'll tell you, after 2019, the things have changed for us, being now the cars are booked online. We were able to book Thar Rocks, right? 2 lakh bookings in just half an hour. I am sure that with footfall and with the dealership facility, we couldn't have achieved it. And we could have not achieved otherwise we have not gone on cloud. We were not running 1500 nodes and so many pods, microservice-based architecture. We would have not scaled up because the booking was happening, the UPI payment was happening, those things. And 2 lakh bookings in half an hour is a big business achievement. My president, after that, right, has given me more fund for cloud modernization. He says, okay, good. So we are making our fundamentals right. And when you require, you can't modernize when you require the thing. You cannot dig when you are actually feeling you need water, right? You have to prepare in advance. And that is where it has to be.
I think on a lighter note, I think you need to work more on the modernization of the infrastructure because my booking failed for the rocks. Sorry. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you try again, it will work.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I think if I talk about the one key takeaway from this whole discussion, right, and it's a very beautiful discussion that we did, right? The future of infrastructure is not about just how scalable and reliable you are. It's more towards like how adaptive, how intelligent and decision-driven this the whole infrastructure gonna be. And it is not about like tools. It's all about like how leaders are designing system and making the culture shift, right? And from this, I really thanks to our panelists and to all the audience who have been a very great audience, right? And for that, I think we open for the questions, if there are any, or you can just catch all these folks.
Check. Do you have any questions? A lovely audience at the back. Can we pass the mic here, please?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Amit Gaigawale. I am from Everest Industries. I am heading IT applications there. My questions to anybody from the panelist is 3 years from now, how would a truly AI native enterprise infrastructure will be defined, and how does a CIO or a particular CXO should be ready this year to catch up to that curve so that they don't fall behind?
Should I answer?
Yeah, please.
So what you have to do is, first of all, you have to make yourself AI ready. That is by default. Because now AI will propagate like general purpose. Electricity became general purpose technology. Now electricity is everywhere. Anything which becomes general purpose is everywhere. Now everybody is using ChatGPT at home. My kids are using everybody. So AI is part of our life now. You cannot help it. So you have to be ready for AI. Now the point which will come is like on every application, can you use AI? So if you are a company who is a product development company, you are in a dire pressure that you have to have your own agent, otherwise you can't compete in the market. Because your competitors will be there. Now if you are having supported applications, now if they are customer facing sometimes, how much it will help you, because nowadays what happens, if a person comes to say, right, he also say, sir isme AI hai. So अब AI मतलब as a you talk to any vendor, sales talk में वो any product, sir इसमें AI है, whether it is an AI or not, it is a deterministic solution also, they will always say sir इसमें AI है. So you also need to have a very thin steel rod kind of a direction. Then you start moving out. So customer facing application, definitely you are having that competition running after you. Then you bring out which will have a major impact in your operational efficiencies. Something which you can, something automated you have already must have done, right? Like for example, RPAs were there, RPAs are out. OCR are out. Gen AI works so good, all kind of bills. It understand because it understand the context. पहले हम लोग डेवलप करते थे, इनवॉइस है तो बिल है तो कुछ है तो we have to make all that stuff, right? You don't require now. So those changes also you have to done what your legacy debt that you can they will be very quick wins. Then you see where you get the more advantage, and then start from there. Anyway, you start walking, you will reach destination. But you are there and thinking what should I do, then still it will be far away. Otherwise you take a step ahead and you will reach. Because everybody is reaching that. Somebody is reaching faster, somebody is reaching slower. But everybody eventually will reach there.
Thanks, but however, thanks for referencing the applications part of it into your reply. My focus was mainly on the AI native enterprise infra. So what will define AI native enterprise infra 3 years from now?
Now, if you're talking about AI native infra, if you're talking about cloud or you're talking about your data center, So there will be two requirements. So like, for example, you have to run your robotics, your machine vision, checking and all. You will require a edge data center, liquid cooled, and there are robust HP and Dell boxes are there, which they say that dust and heat also they can. So that will be there, which requires the models to run there. Many applications like nut and bolt doesn't require training. They only require CPU. Training can be done on cloud and the inference can be done on the local edge. And second, you have to also think about whether you require AI native or not if you are using APIs of ChatGPT, Cloudeo or Anthropic. So if you are using those LLMs, right, or you are using Vertex AI, let's for say, then why do you require AI ready? Because AI ready to किसी ने कर रखा है तुम्हारे लिए. Somebody has already done it. So you just adopt it while creating yourself, because otherwise you have to maintain also. The best thing is you have to find out build versus buy. So do you, based on your consumption, based on your data sensitivity and based on this, you have to decide.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, dear panel members, thank you for the very engaging session. This is Neha Bandi from L&T Technology Services. I have one question related to, we are into services business with a lot of OEMs globally across multiple domains. The constant ask, even though they want us to do infrastructure upgrades over cloud and use as much AI as possible, is that make it pocket friendly for me. I don't have that deep pockets. Even though they are the best of the organizations globally, make it pocket friendly is what they recommend. And in such scenarios, when you just said that it has to be decided whether you build or buy, what are those key parameters to take those decisions? And how do you convince the customers to at least have an initial sizable investment to see results of AI? Yeah.
So, so I think you have to do this, and we always say, IT as a value driver, not just a technology provider. So, while there is a need to go to cloud, there is a need to, and this is always a very common case where you need funding for a mobile app, which is directly revenue recognition, versus an AI on which you can possibly do some analytics and bring business value in a different, these modern days where you're absolutely right. All of us sitting here would undergo that pressure where you can possibly say that, yes, this agentic AI module sitting in my landing zone would work out this kind of value add. But again, that value add is notional. So bring out that value addition. I believe you have a better argument in terms of getting funds. So that value is an important thing.
So I'll add to specific to your question. First thing is, in cloud, the business case will never have that what you will save. The business case, even I have to do R1 cloud transformation, I have to go to my CFO and CEO and I have to tell what I will earn. There are two ways. You become stingy, right? And save and save and save. And same is, I invest and then I become 10x. So cloud strategy will always be an earning strategy. It's not a cost saving strategy. If you make a cost saving strategy, you will never be able to convince them. It's always an earning strategy. What you will earn, how your business can become 10x, how your business can become. Now, second question, when you were talking about like how do you decide? I always give an example and I'll explain with an example. I make car, but I don't make tire. Because tire is available very easily. MRF is making better than me. What unique value I can add is only thing which I should buy, which is my patent. Rest other things are available. If I would have to make my car and I make a factory of tire also, engine also, chassis also, everything also, then I cannot make a good car because my focus will also shift, right? And then I will not be profitable also because of economies of scale. So similarly, you have to design what is available as a build, which is proven, what is something which is very special which you can make, this can be patent for you, and then you have to approach that way. What is build, what is buy.
One point to add to this, and I'll give an example from our business. So we are into the restaurant business where most of the highest number of orders come in the evening around dinner time. If 1 hour our app goes down or our backend goes down for 1 hour in the evening on any given day, it will wipe out the entire cloud cost for 6 months. So what you get from the resilience you get from the cloud is much more valuable than the actual money you're putting into the cloud expenses, in such cases at least.
Good example.
I think I have a very different point of view there, right? What you have said is also right. But I think one of the very important aspects when you say the AI and the cost and everything, right? The cost is not about implementation of the AI, right? The cost is all about like how you're utilizing the AI. What is the use case that you're trying to solve, right? It's not, mostly people are trying to overfit the AI in most of the use cases, and that's creating a problem and bloating the cost that you're involved in. The second, there are enough research paper that I think a lot more people published, right? How you can definitely save your money, right? First, there are already things like a LangChain, Olama, where you can definitely deploy all these open model which cost nothing, right? And then on top of it, one of the very important aspects, you need to observe everything, what you're deploying, and how that particular model, how much token it is consuming, because now it is available. Prior to 1 or 2 months back, it's not available at a time. Now you can, for each and every end-to-end journey, right? Let's say if somebody clocked an order at your McDonald's, right? So how much token I invested if I'm using AI in that to really get that order done or get into my system, right? So for that, you can definitely get the ROI and you can tag back to it, right? Lastly, recently, we also implemented the memory concept, which bring down the cost of our models drastically. I would say 60%, right? So things are changing very rapidly, and it's not that you need to keep just looking at how we can definitely bring down the thing. It's more towards what use case you are trying to solve, for whom, and how. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the engaged knowledge-based session. This is Astha from ICICI Securities. So I have a question is it possible to get the audit trail of AIOps or MLOps pipeline that it has not been trained with some PII data or organization secure data while processing through it when we are using it when we are using the LLM for our organization specific AI, artificial intelligence.
I'll answer one dilemma for security team, okay?
Okay.
Which we always face. LLMs and data goes in perpendicular direction, because why I'll tell you. The earlier trainings which we used to do in ANN and CNN and all that stuff, right? Wherever the CISO comes in, hey, this data is confidential and what, data engineer, you have to give them a right, otherwise he can't troubleshoot. How will troubleshoot that answer is coming wrong, or hallucination is coming, or RAG is not working properly, or my vector database is not working properly? He has to understand the context. The AI understand, but the data engineer does. So that dilemma will always be there, right? Now, coming back to your question of how the data is going. So there are 2-3 things.
Yeah,
one
so,
is...
sorry to interrupt. So I would like to know, is it possible to have that audit trail?
Yeah,
okay, so I have
audit trail is there.
Okay.
Audit trail is there. So when you are using your APIs or your solution is to be made in such a way, and now the solutions are also coming. After RAG has come and now the things have come, right? Now what happens is your tool in the middleware sends the data and all prompts, and it also logs what has gone, what isn't. And the another AI agent works on that something has gone.
Okay.
Which will alert you.
Right.
Which can all these logs can go to your SIM. And SIM AI understand that something has gone. So there is one, you can filter it, you don't want to get it out. Like some countries has banned any COVID patient, hum lenge hi nahi. Second, we will screen and quarantine. Third, जाने दो बाद में पकड़ेंगे.
Okay, yeah.
So
right.
what model, in band, out of band, whatever model you think,
Okay.
that way you have all the solutions available.
Okay.
But you have to decide the strategy.
I think answering to your question in one line, like it's readily available with the APIs for all the models. So it's simple. Like whenever you make a call to any model, they give you the meta information.
Okay.
And that's the biggest thing for data scientists like us, because I want to understand what is the temperature, what is the audacity, like what is the profanity that I've been trying, and with what parameter I'm getting a better output, right? So it's always available from a day one. All these meta information has been logged, been given. But most of the time what happens, like people try to discard it because it's a huge amount of information. It also gives the what kind of prompt that LLM built when you just made a call to the model, right? So it's pretty much very available, even with the middlewares as well.
Okay.
You have to protect, actually, I think, from the outside also when you are making a customer-facing bots.
Right.
There, the prompt poisoning you have to, otherwise what he said, every tool nowadays has this feature.
Yeah, every LLM agent has to be protected. Yeah. Thank you for the answering.
Let's keep this the last question for the session. Yes, sir. You may proceed.
Good afternoon. This is Nilesh Thakkar from Glasswall Systems. I am Vice President IT and ERP. We are also using SAP as our core business tool. I have two questions. Number one, from recent MCA, we have a directive from the Company Act saying that we have to have an audit trail on application as well as database. From SAP application, we could activate the audit trail. That's okay. But on database, which is on cloud, how can we have the audit trail, and whether it is not going to be a very generic?
The small value or a small amount of money, because it's a de facto ask from most of the PI system if you're getting audited, right? Let's say ISO as well as SOC 2, right? And it is always available out of the box from all these solutions, right? The only thing what you ask, is going to be mammoth task? It is yes, but they also give you a pipeline, a direct pipeline where you can store it and refine it before storing to the rest. So it becomes very cost effective in that manner.
And I'll just add, even if you're talking about databases, native databases, by default they have, they might not have inbuilt, but plugins are available for all of the databases that I've looked at.
You can enable it. It's simple.
So it's a fairly
PaaS
straightforward.
database and SaaS, as is told, everybody, you have to just enable the feature. That's all.
I want to add actually. Application wise, we have already activated the audit trail. That's not a problem. The data, which is HANA database, which is on cloud, that also needs to be activated by HANA Studio or some such features. That is where the actual,
But I think that is one of the out-of-the-box feature for the HANA, right?
No. So I can explain you. The reason is you already tamed the elephant. So the baby of an elephant is still you have to tame. So I don't know your box is how big. I told you, like, SAP is a monolith system in the HANA 12 TB, 16 TB box. They are very costly. Now 16 TB,
It is costly.
the cost becomes higher because the way it stores the data, and the RAM is always expensive, and you store in the bucket, but you can't help it out.
But we push that information to our data pipeline, and from there we just optimize it. So it's become very less for us.
I just add to that, the regulation, audit regulation is very specific. I may be wrong, but I may be stand corrected. But it asks for all financial transactions and access permissions. As long as you are able to track these two, governance, most of the time people do switch off the log so that it doesn't hog the memory and storage. But these 2-3 types of transactions we have to preserve. When it comes to SAP, as Abhishek was saying, that GRC module is already there, which takes care of access permission. For financial transactions also it tracks in cloud as well as on-premise. Same thing we need to apply in the applications also. I myself has gone through this exercise, and For other databases, like if you're using SQL Server or Oracle database over and beyond SAP, then we have to take care of that by using the PAM solutions or extended solutions to track these trails basically.
Thanks. I think it will help. The second part and the last part from my side is specific question about SAP with the production module. What I wanted to ask is what are the possibilities of using and drawing out a production plan based on the actual stock situation available at that point of time? On that situation, what best can be used as a production output? Can it be drawn with an AI tool? I just wanted your view.
SAP has SAP Joule AI. So you talk to SAP, they will tell. So Joule is very specifically made for running on the HANA. So HANA had come for this purpose only. Like everything will be in the memory because SAP as a database and this was very high if you were to run on Oracle and this. The transaction time to extract the data was very difficult. So HANA is an in-memory database. So SAP Joule is very tightly integrated. So you'll get a help from SAP Joule is their AI division, which works on this. You might get use case from that it can read the data from the production table and the transaction which your dealers, suppliers will be doing. I don't know whether it will be integrated with some other system because there is an indirect licensing is also there. So you might be using that or you might be using digital licenses. I don't know the architecture as such, but yes, it is quite possible. SAP can guide you better and SAP will come with cost. If you want to have your own, then still deep dive has to be done. That how do you bring that CPI is there, SAP CPI is there, BTP is there, where you can process out the data and then you can process and do it that way. You will have that API management on that CPI model, which they have, BTP, business transaction process, which they have right now, which can connect with a very native connector with HANA database and can...
Price level here at this forum. These discussions can definitely be carried forward in our networking session on a one-to-one basis because I think that will be more personalized and better. But in the interest of time, thank you for the insights, but we might unfortunately have to call this off and we will have to move in with the next panel considering the flow of the agenda. So I would like to take this time to thank my speakers. A huge round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. Can we please give it up for them?